It's time for another Dice Tower review with Z. Garcia.
Hey folks, today I am taking a look at Lost Legacy 4th Chronicle, and this one has, like the other Lost Legacy sets before it, or most of them anyway, there's basically 2 sets of cards in here. It has the Undying Heart and Werewolf. And what Lost Legacy is quite simply a micro game in which you are trying to either eliminate other players or find this lost relic and win the game. It's a micro game. Each set only has 16 cards. And while I'm not gaga over micro games, I enjoy them alright, and Lost Legacy is one of the ones that I really do enjoy. So, what's in the little box here, and how does this set stack up against the previous ones? Let me give you an overview of how the game plays, then I'll show you the cards in here, and then I'll tell you what I think of it. Both of the Lost Legacy sets that are included in this box operate pretty much the same way as all the other Lost Legacy sets before it. So let me give you a quick look at how that works, and then I'll give you a close-up look at some of the cards in both of the sets that are here. So, to set up the game, we're going to shuffle up one of the sets, and we are going to give each player a card, and then we are going to set one card aside. That starts the Ruins, which is sort of a face-down discard, if you would. Put the deck on the table, you're ready to begin. The objective of the game is to find the Lost Legacy. If at the end of the game you're the one who finds the Lost Legacy, you win the game, or if every other player is eliminated, you also win the game. On your turn, you are going to, with your card, you are going to draw one more, and then from those 2, you are going to play a card. So I would have 2 cards, I would play one, do whatever it says, and then the next player would go. They, with their card, they would draw another card. They would play one, do whatever it says. So I'll give you one example here. Full Moon, for example, says that look at another player's hand. If you have the same card in your hand as that player, you may reveal it, and the other player is eliminated. Fine. Full Moon. And then I have here a Woodsman, which is a 7. I'll take a look at this player's hand. It is not a 7. They get that card back. If it had been, they're out. Okay? And that's it. We continue doing this. At the end of the game, there might be more Lost Legacy cards here in the middle, in the Ruins. And every player is still holding one card. If at that point we don't have a winner yet, then starting from the lowest number that people are holding, you will try to figure out where the Lost Legacy is. So you'll call out, okay, 1. Does anybody have the 1? And this person might say, okay, yeah, I have the 1. I think it's this one. They would take a look at it. It is not that one. Anybody have the 2? Does anybody have the 3? And so on until someone finds it, or quite possibly someone is holding the Lost Legacy themselves. So if by the time you call 5, that person has it, they can just say, yes, I know where it is. It's right here in my hand. And they would win, okay? You can play one game of this, just pretty much what I just showed you, or the game does include these little cubes. If you want to play multiple games and keep score, you just play to a certain number of these, depending on how many players you are playing with. So that's basically it. And the game really is, the sets are different from one another just based on the special abilities of the cards alone. That's pretty much the variance there. So let's take a look at these cards. This here is the Werewolf deck. I would say it's the slightly more complex of the 2. Let me give you a quick look at the cards here. This card, if you play, you cannot be eliminated until your next turn. And then if you do have it in front of you and no one finds the Lost Legacy, you automatically win the game. Very interesting. Fortune Teller, while it's face up, you can draw an additional card and then discard that card back to the top of the deck. The Village Council here is an attack card. But it's pretty interesting because everybody puts in a card and then the lowest is eliminated and everybody after that gets brand new cards. Chaotic, but fun. After that, we've got the Beastmaster here until the end of your next turn. Anybody who plays a 5 or a higher has to skip a turn. That's kind of annoying, but there's one card that we'll see later on that is more annoying than this. And then during the investigation phase as well, if another player investigates that card in your hand, you win. So you have a reason to hang on to that card. Okay, here we have the Lost Legacy itself, the Werewolf, and it simply says that if you investigate that card in your own hand, you receive an additional victory point. So this set encourages playing with the long game with the blue cubes I showed you earlier. Premonition, I talked about a little bit earlier, I think, and then this is the one where you pick a number, you reveal it, and you might play again. The Woodsman lets you take a card from any player's discards, add it to your own hand, and then you throw a card in the ruins. Full Moon here, you get to look at another player's hand. If you have the same card, they're out. And then finally, the Wolf Attack, which is the X, where you flip all the X's in front of you, and then you are going to do some investigation based on how many X's you have. Let me also point out the little dots up here in the corners is how many of that kind of card there are in the deck. So 3 X's, and there's 3 8s, and there are 3 7s, 2 6s, a single Lost Legacy, and then the other numbers all have a single copy, alright? So that's it for the Werewolf. Now let's take a look at Undying Heart. This set is a little bit simpler, I would say, than the other set, and it is definitely even more confrontational. So let's take a look at it. Spectre here, during the investigation phase, if that's face up in your discards, you get to investigate twice. So try to find that Lost Legacy twice. Vampire Lord, if you would be eliminated, you instead flip over the Vampire Lord. If it's in front of you in your discard, then you are back in. The Vampire Hunter, you take a card from another player's discards, add it to your hand, and then place a card on top of the deck. Crypt Raider, eliminate another player with a face-up card in their discards. Wow! If anybody played any X's, they're dead. Here we go. This is the Lost Legacy, just says it cannot be played. Force of Will, you and another player compare hands. Whoever has the higher value is out. Dark Pact. This one, choose 2 players, they exchange hands. That's nice and annoying, but not as bad as this one. Holy Ground, choose any player. That player must miss their next turn. And then Blood Moon, look at another player's hands. If they have a 1, a 2, or a 3, they are out. So there you have it. A lot of death and destruction in this one. A lot of skipping turns, things like that. But now that you know more or less what the sets do, let's go back up top and I'll give you some final thoughts on these 2 sets. Of the 2 sets, and you might have figured this out by now, I definitely enjoy the Werewolf more than I liked Undying Heart. I thought Undying Heart was just too much take that. And the skipping a turn card, where it's not even a condition and then you might skip a turn, like the card in the Werewolf set, it's just... it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. There's not enough cards or enough turns in this game for that to be in there, it seems to me. And so we had games where the same person had their turn skipped 3 times in a row, and then they were 2 times in a row, and then they were eliminated. And he sat there and said, I didn't play, and that's true. And so that's not okay. I was not as thrilled with that set. I would say it's somewhere near the middle to bottom of all the sets that have come out for Lost Legacy. That set originally, before AEG reprinted it here, the original Japanese release was as a promotional set of cards. So it was not technically published before, and I don't want to say it. I can see why it wasn't published, but I will say it's not one of my favorite sets. The other set I like a lot. It's a brand new set, newly designed, and I think the flavor definitely comes through. There's still a lot of confrontation, but I like the conditional abilities to them. Like, if this happens, smack someone down, things like that. And then all the investigation powers I like a lot as well. I like the just all the triggers that if you play them in front of you, you need to, you get a little extra oomph. And I enjoy that set a lot more. Still not one of my favorites necessarily, but probably on the top half of sets, okay? If you are a Lost Legacy connoisseur, then I would say yes, go out and get this set. There's nothing necessarily wrong with it, but I would not recommend you start here. And if you are into the Lost Legacy sets that are more deductive than just take that, then you might not like this set. So there you have it. I enjoy it. I have all the sets, and so every now and then I might play one of these or I might steal a card and put it in another set, because you can do that in Lost Legacy. You can kind of build your own little sets of cards. But I would not recommend this as being your first or even your second purchase. Get some of the earlier sets for that, and then if you got to have everything, go and get this one. Definitely recommend it for the Werewolf. So there you've got it, Lost Legacy 4th Chronicle.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.